Hello, Kayakus here, and welcome to another Mendacium devlog. Last time I focused on polishing the character, so in this one we are going to polish the environment. Everybody has priorities in life. Mine are stones. Stones are very important if you want to make any kind of environment. In my case, stones are always more than 50% of the whole environment. These are the base rocks that I used till this point, and they are okay, but kinda utter garbage, so I drew the new ones. Main difference this time is that I'm using this textured brush for shading instead of base circle one, which in fact gives the art more detail. I'm always trying to draw multiple shapes at the same time so that I have some variety and some choice when I'm building the world, instead of just copying the same rock 5 times in a row. This time I also wanted to add a grass layer on top of all of the rocks, since I thought that it would look more natural in a grassy environment. Whenever I'm drawing art assets like these, I'm always trying to make them as reusable as possible, so that I can mirror or rotate them around and achieve different results. After this, I started redrawing trees. This is the tree that is currently in the game, and again, it looks fine, but the main problem is that it doesn't look 3D enough, since it's only one layer. This is usually not a problem with the small assets, but for something big as this tree over here, it kinda becomes obvious when you start running around. So I decided to divide the whole tree in small assets so that I can layer them differently inside Unity Engine. With all these tree parts, I'm able to make different trees by just reordering and combining parts in different ways. In the end, I also added a simple script that is going to wiggle the tree parts a little bit to try to simulate some kind of wind. After that, I moved on to the houses. The old houses look like garbage, and they always reminded me of these sand towers which kids create when they play with the sand. So again, I drew 4 different variations of a house to get some variety. The doors needed to be separated, of course, since not every house is going to be closed forever and the player will eventually going to be able to enter a house. Then I drew some rune stones using the same process as for the first rocks. This time I had to make 2 separate versions of every rune stone, basic one and the one with runes glowing. This approach allowed me to transition between 2 versions of the runestone and make the runes glow when the player is near the stone. Finally, I updated the platforms as well, giving them some more natural shapes. Only thing that I didn't update are these square rocks which I used to construct the main layer the player is moving. However, I will be updating these ones as well, since most of them were copied and pasted from Ascendum, my adventure puzzle platformer game in which you help 2 twin vessels on their journey to the Golden Mountain. The game can be played in a single player mode where you control 2 characters at once, or enjoyed as a co-op adventure with your best friend or a loved one. Go wishlist now and boost my self-esteem a little, link in the description below. After finishing all of the new art, I looked back at the miner village and realized how garbage it actually looks. So I spent some time remaking it, and now it looks like this. Remember when I said that the player will be able to enter the house? Well, I have to make that and draw the interior. Since the interior of the house is a separated scene completely, I drew the whole interior in one go and then separated all of the parts for layering. This should be a house of a shopkeeper. That is the reason why there are so many shelves and items everywhere. And there is also a ladder if somebody was wondering how he picks up the items from the upper shelves. However, if you go to the right corner completely, you will uncover a secret room where he spends his nights. In the village, I also made this one section dedicated to processing the ore and mining goods, and I even added 2 guys in the background working on some crystals. Since the player is going to come back to this village a lot of times, I also added this one house on the higher floor, which is only going to be accessible when you obtain some more movement abilities. For a change, I went back to drawing and drew a rune forge which is going to be located in the village. After separating the assets nicely, I decided to make the forge light up when the player gets close to it. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I mean, just compare the old with the new one. Finally, for real now, I also figured out that the player blends too much with the background and it's not quite visible, so I solved the problem by adding a dark glow behind him. So now he's more visible, I guess. After finishing this village, I realized that it would be a good idea to work on zones chronologically and focus on one zone at a time. This means adding more rooms, bosses, updating the art for existing rooms, and trying to make the zone as finished as possible before moving on to the other zones. So I made the plan for the new room layout of the first zone. This is the room layout before, and this is how it should look like. Currently there are 15 rooms, but I plan to have 52. So it seems that there are a lot of new rooms to be added. In retrospect, I drew a lot. I drew stones, bigger stones, more stones, trees, houses, a shop, house interior, and a forge. And with all that, the miner village is not hideous anymore, and I decided to focus on one zone at a time, which means that I will be working on green hills from now on until it reaches its finished state. Which shouldn't take long, since I only have to make 37 rooms from scratch, redo the art with new stones in the old rooms, as well as add 2 additional bosses, 2 mini arena encounters, and some new enemies. Easy. So that's it, I'm officially done, and until next time.